Hello, manic.mercurian here with a birth chart reading. And, well, so you requested not only a birth chart reading, you requested a birth chart reading and a year forecast. So that's actually kind of nice for me because I look at the birth chart anyway to do a year forecast, and I often start my year forecast videos by just kind of taking at least a glance at the birth chart. So this will be nice for me that I can take a deep dive into the birth chart, and then afterward, then I'll take a look at your forecast for you. But anyway, so this birth chart reading is for Thursday, August 1st, 1974, at 6:15 a.m. in Erie, Pennsylvania. And so you have Sun in Leo, Moon in Capricorn with Leo rising. And the first thing I noticed, of course, is that the Sun is pretty tightly conjunct the ascendant in Leo, which I'm not sure if I've ever seen that before in a chart. This means that you were born right at sunrise, and there's a lot of powerful ramifications for that in astrology, especially being in the sign of Leo where Sun is in domicile. Um, having Sun in Leo in general means, it's one of the more outwardly strong sun signs. The sun is most at home in Leo, so it's very strong there. So all the traits and attributes that the sun represents, like your ego, self-esteem, self-expression, all those things are kind of amplified. They're very confident and outgoing. They're easy to understand for people. That's common with all Leos. Leos have that strong sense of flair, that strong charisma, and they're easy for us to understand and relate to because they're very expressive. So you would have those traits just like any Leo, but for you it's amplified even more because your ascendant, which rules your self-expression as well, but also your mannerisms and your appearance and your approach to things, the first impression you give off to people. That is conjunct, so it's combined, it's unified with your pride, your ego, your sense of identity. So this would make you even easier for people to understand, especially on a more casual or professional level. The sun represents kind of the exterior of our personality. It's more casual. It's who we are during the daytime, you could say, when the sun is out. And so all of that, like for you, all that whole part of your being would be easy for people to understand and connect with. You wouldn't necessarily be very subtle. You speak in a clear way. You make your intentions known, and you do have that charisma, that fire about you. And Sun is not only in a very fitting place in Leo, but Ascendant is as well. You can sort of think of Ascendant as being most at home in the fire signs, especially Aries and Leo. Um, so this is a sort of, I don't know, gifted placement, I guess you could say, because it does make you confident, outgoing. It's easier for you to start things. It's easy for you to approach people or approach situations and to have that beginning. It's easy for you to just kind of jump into things and start things. So that's really excellent. You have a you have some other energies that are very different. So the moon is in sixth house Capricorn, which is very different than all this, strong Leo and Sun energy. Actually, before I get into that, I just have to say too that having ascendant in Leo makes the Sun your chart ruler, and the Sun is conjunct the ascendant, and it's in domicile in Leo, which makes it not only the chart ruler, but it's also a final dispositor. So you have very strong solar or sun energy in your chart. So this means that you would identify with the traits of the sun. So you can just look up, much like you would look up some information for your sun sign, Leo, you could also search for, what does the sun represent in astrology? And that all the symbolism of the sun would be very important to you. You might have an even kind of literal connection with the sun, um, but the sun represents our self-expression, our ego, our pride. Uh, the sun is very generous, but it's also narciss or self-centered at times. And this applies to Leo as well. Leo is kind of self-focused, but at the same time, it's so generous with its energy and its light. Leos kind of shower their affection and attention on everyone else, and sometimes it does seem like it's all about them. But at the same time, they are very generous with their energy that they give off and that vitality. So I would just suggest that you could, do some further research on your own as well. And you would relate probably a lot to that, and it just goes to show that the sun, you have a connection with the sun. Could also indicate that you have potential to be a leader as well, because Leo is independent. It's bringing something to the table that's um, well, on the one hand, it's very easy to understand for people and easy to relate to, but on the other hand, it's something uniquely theirs. Leo isn't shy about you know showing its uniqueness and eccentricities. So that's very much an energy that you're vibing with and bringing to the table here. However, you do have Moon in Capricorn sixth house, so that's a very different energy. So you may have that kind of flashiness to your personality, that charisma on the outside, but Moon in Capricorn suggests that deep down you are very resilient, you're very hardworking, and you're actually very humble. And I think this combination is really great because you do have that larger than life side of your personality with the Leo energy and the Sun energy. The side, like the Leo energy would make you feel like you're super special and you have something unique to give to the world, which is awesome, and that's true. But it's also grounded and tempered by this humility that Moon in Capricorn has. Moon in Capricorn suggests that you had a difficult childhood where you were expected to grow up very quickly. You were not mollycoddled, so you either had parents that were very strict that expected a lot out of you, or your parents may have been just very hard on you in other ways. They weren't supportive in the sense of being very comforting. So your childhood sort of lacked that kind of warm, bubbly comfort that we might expect to have in a childhood. And so this is very difficult. Moon is in detriment in Capricorn, so it does indicate it's a challenging placement, especially initially. Um, but I think it's a great placement in people because generally what happens is, as a child, you respond to your circumstances by becoming more independent at an early age, and so this would result in you maturing very fast. And Leo and Capricorn, we're combining these two energies in your chart with Leo Sun and Rising and Capricorn Moon, and they are very different energies. They're quincunx to each other, so they have almost nothing in common. But there are a couple threads that link the two that would be very strong in your personality. One is that they do grow up fast. Leo and Capricorn grow up fast. They mature quickly. They want to be responsible for themselves and not unique. Well, unique too, I guess, but they want to be independent. Is what I was trying to say. So you would be kind of independent, working on your own at a young age. Probably getting a job sooner than most of your peers. Um, that type of thing. You'd be very self-sufficient, very autonomous. And Capricorn Moon, it would indicate that you don't always rely on other people, especially emotionally. Moon represents our emotions, our core, the core of our personality, and Capricorn's very private. So Capricorn Moon means that a lot of times you just feel more comfortable not really sharing really deep, issues or challenges that you're facing, or deep, goals in your life as well. You kind of just naturally keep all those things private, and it's interesting because you are such an expressive person. So charismatic, easy to relate to, easy to connect with. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of stuff you keep private. Capricorn Moon has this kind of seriousness to it. Um, like it, I don't know. It's very like business oriented and very kind of like on a survival level, but in a very long term way. So it's always trying to plan and organize. and think about the very far future. And that's what makes it so ambitious, is because it values the future almost more than the present. So it's, definitely not like Leo, for instance, can be more of a self-indulgent sign because it is more present focused, but Capricorn is focused on the future. So combining these two energies in your chart, I think Moon representing your core and your emotions, deep down, you are very much focused on the far future. You're a very goal-oriented person. One other connection between Leo and Capricorn that would run very strong in you is that both of these signs have very high standards for themselves. They want to be the best at what they do. And they take this very seriously. Both signs want to be in a position of power or of respect is very important to them. And both signs, well, I think especially combining both signs, I would think that you work very hard to be the best at whatever you do. Um, and Success Moon is interesting because it it suggests you're very focused on other people more so than a typical Leo. You have all that strong Leo energy that is very self focused, and that would be present in you on a more shallow level or more casual level. But deep down at your emotional core, the focus is actually very much on other people. Um, Moon and Success, it just means that deep down you're just naturally focused on other people. I'm not sure how else to say that. It would also make you very humble, and it would make you good at understanding other people. Other people may not always understand you on a very deep level. I think people would see your fiery side, and they would relate to that and click with that, and you'd be very easy to connect with. But few people would get past that layer and see um, a deeper side of you that is more actually very grounded, very pragmatic, and goal oriented. They wouldn't see that kind of Capricornian side as much. Some people would. Um, Most people would not, I don't think. Okay, and you do have a lot of placements in Cancer, but I haven't. I'm kind of jumping around here, but I saw a connection between your moon in sixth house, which is definitely focused on other people, focused on serving other people. You also have Chiron conjunct your midheaven, and you said that you were a nurse, so that it's almost like you can't make this stuff up in astrology. Chiron is called the wounded healer, and it's conjunct the midheaven. Midheaven rules over your career and public persona. So this would mean that you would be seen in the world as a healer or a wounded healer. So being a nurse, it almost couldn't be more perfect that this Chiron conjunct your midheaven combined, especially with your sixth house moon, it would really indicate that you are meant to heal people. You're meant to help people. Um, and with the Chiron influence, it suggests that you may have had a situation, maybe in your past, maybe it was a trauma or some kind of struggle or challenge, and it was something that you never really knew how to deal with. But now, the answer to that is that by helping other people who had that problem, who, you didn't have the help when you were dealing with this challenge or with this trauma. You had to deal with it on your own. But now the way you can remedy it in yourself is actually by treating others or helping others with similar problems. So I don't know, maybe you had medical problems at a young age that you had to deal with, or health problems, or maybe it was just emotional problems of some kind, and now you can help other people with those issues. And in a kind of backward way, that's actually the only way you can really heal yourself and heal those traumas in yourself is by helping others. So there's a lot of those things involved in your career, your public image. You'd be seen as a healer, and it's interesting because this this aspect, Chiron conjunct midheaven, is in Aries, so it's actually kind of self-focused. So I think Chiron is about helping other people, but for you, this is an Aries, so it's kind of self-focused. You have, again, Aries is a fire sign like Leo. There's a lot of shared traits there. So you would be seen as being very fiery, very outgoing, taking initiative, very confident. I almost sneezed, but it's good that I didn't. um, but you would be seen as being, yeah, very confident, fiery, outgoing, and you'd be seen as a leader in your place of work. Aries takes charge as a leader, and especially combining, these three signs in your chart now, Leo, Capricorn, Aries, you definitely seem like you'd be a leader of some sort. You would always be very independent. You need some level of autonomy, especially in your place of work. I think it would drive you crazy to have to work for someone that you feel isn't worthy or like isn't competent enough. You would, like, for instance, this would almost suggest being a business owner. Um, I do definitely see, being a nurse makes sense. You want to help people, you want to heal people, in a literal way. But you need some level of autonomy. So I don't know much about the, medical practices or medical field, but I don't know. I almost think doing something on your own might be really good. Something where you can kind of make your own rules, or I'm not sure what that would look like exactly or what that would entail, but that level of autonomy would be really good for you because you do want to do things on your own. You don't want to listen to people who aren't worthy. So, if you do have superiors, they would need to be very confident or competent, for you to feel comfortable working under them because, and you would need that room to breathe as well, even then. You want to be able to make your own decisions. You do, like, you would hate being micromanaged more so than, I mean, I think everyone hates that. But you would especially hate that because you like to do things your own way. You're very self-assured. I think you have, um, like, how do I put this? Like, you have your own standards for yourself. I don't think you really get lost in the expectations of other people. You definitely know who you are and what your standards are. So that's why some independence would be required for you, and you're just naturally an independent person, so that would definitely be required in your place of work. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that was interesting. I got sidetracked there, but it segued so well. But there's one part of your chart that I feel like I'm neglecting. So you have a lot of planets in Cancer actually, and the three signs I would say you would resonate the most would be Leo, Capricorn, and Cancer. Maybe Cancer even more than Capricorn, just because you do have um so you have Sun and Leo, but the inner planets Mercury and Venus, which are they do make up a lot of our personality. Um, they're always close to the sun, but in this case, they're both in Cancer in the 12th house. Sorry. Um, you have Saturn in Cancer, 12th house as well. So there's also this big focus in Cancer. You think like a Cancer, you speak like a Cancer because you have Mercury in Cancer. So this means that you are very intuitive. Mercury in Cancer, the way it kind of thinks and analyzes isn't actually logical all the time. It's more intuitive and emotional. So the way I describe it is like it's almost like you feel your way through situations. This is sort of an old soul placement or old soul energy. People often, describe these things as. So it means that the way you judge things, the way you learn, is emotional in nature. It's like you just kind of feel people out, or you feel out situations, and you do have this kind of old soul wisdom where you can kind of look at a situation and it's almost like you just absorb information. Like you're not. It's interesting for me looking at it from the outside because I'm not really that way. I'm more thinking and analyzing. It's all very logical. If A equals B, then B must equal C. I'm coming up with these conclusions very rationally. But I don't think that's always what Cancer does. It's, having Mercury in Cancer, it's almost like you have this kind of wisdom where you can take things not at face value, but you know, you could just look at a situation and just kind of perceive it. You have this kind of perception or wisdom to know where it's going before it's already gone there. You know, Mercury in Cancer is really great at kind of seeing into the future in a way. You know, you could say like kind of just seeing um, where something is going to go, where a situation or a person is going to go, what the potentials there are. So that is really great. You know, you have that kind of wisdom about it. Now it's tucked away though in the 12th house, so I think this you do have a lot of really strong intuitive capabilities and potential, but it would be sort of locked away at least at an early age. Um, you know, I think this you would develop this a lot, and especially you know getting into your by your 20s, you would definitely have this to be developed. You'd be more aware of this, and these are you know Mercury, Venus, Saturn. The 12th house, any placements in the 12th house are late bloomers. So this is all stuff that you may have felt was suppressed at a young age, or just wasn't developed, or you know, like it wasn't allowed to be there. So it takes longer for it to get stronger. But later in life, these placements will be very strong, and they have this link to the subconscious that's very valuable. That same link to the subconscious is actually the very reason why these placements weren't available to you at a younger age, but it's also why they're extra valuable later on once you do become aware of those areas, because they allow you to become more aware of your own subconscious. So they allow you to become very self-aware. Or I wouldn't say they allow you because you don't have to have placements like that to become self-aware, but they increase the potential of you becoming extra self-aware, you know, and also extra intuitive as well, which I think kind of come hand in hand with self-awareness. So at any rate, Mercury and Cancer just have that really valuable intuition, but it's something that may have only developed for you a little bit later in life, like especially getting into your 20s, and especially by 30, I would expect these things to be, you know, coming about here. Venus in Cancer as well, so Venus is more the romantic sector of your life, I would say. Venus rules what we desire and um, how we attract what we desire, how we are desirable. And being in Cancer, it means that you're very loyal in your, you know, in your romances. So you're not a person that wants a fling. You want to connect with someone and commit to someone. And Venus in Cancer can sometimes be too loyal, even just because it binds onto someone, and it does have a potential to be codependent or to attract other people who are codependent in relationships. So I love Venus in Cancer people. They are generally pretty sweet. Um, you know, they want that love. Like they're very loving. They're very nurturing. You know, Cancer is like the mother sign. So having Venus in Cancer makes you sort of mothering in a relationship. Like you're very nurturing, very like tender, or you know, and you're wanting that really deep connection, that really loyal, close connection, which is great. It's just hard to have boundaries with this type of energy, and so it's really necessary that if you are in a romantic relationship, you know, it's with someone who doesn't take advantage of that nurturing energy and um, who supports you as well, just like you do to them, because you so much want to support another person romantically when you do, you know, get those, you know, more romantic feelings. So yes, and then you know this all is in the 12th house again. So you know you may have been kind of late to have these romantic relationships or feelings. Um, may have been late for that to kind of develop. But again, there's that kind of subconscious link there that um, I think it takes longer for you to develop in this area, but you know, especially later in life, you could have these really beautiful relationships that are kind of based on this energy here. And since we're in this area, we could talk about Saturn in 12th house Cancer as well. So this is a difficult placement. I won't lie to you. All 12th house placements are generally difficult, I would say, because again, they are kind of suppressed at a young age. But Saturn in particular. So Saturn is in detriment in Cancer, meaning that the, well, I should back up. So Saturn is generally difficult anyway. I mean, wherever Saturn is indicates something that we have challenges with at an early age, but that we, there's a potential to, we face those challenges, and then as a result, later in life, we actually become a leader in that same area that we were extra challenged at before is where we are, because of those challenges, we become the best at later in life. For you, Saturn is in Cancer, so you would be challenged in the area of, family and home. And this would mean, and I think the reason why Saturn is in detriment in this sign is because this is a hard place to be challenged at. Cancer is an energy that I think at its core wants to be very soft, and Cancer is kind of like where we want to be vulnerable, in our home with our family. And having Saturn there challenging all that, it's very difficult, especially at a young age. So, Saturn in Cancer at a young age, it would suggest that you didn't feel like you had a home. You didn't feel like you had a family, or if you did, it didn't really feel like home. Like there was no place that you could really just relax and, put the walls down. Um, and the potential I see with this placement is that it's difficult, but you basically need to create this yourself. You have to create your own family or your own home. You have to create your own place where you can relax and let the walls down. You have to create your own feeling, and you'd be the leader of that home or of that family in doing so, in creating it. So there's that sort of challenge as well. Now you're already past your Saturn return, which is, we experience this when we're 28, 29, 30 years old. And so you likely would have made a lot of progress in these areas at that time, becoming more independent, learning to uh, become more independent in your home or in your family, having your own home or family. So especially, going into your 30s, this is an area that I would think you have probably already developed a lot in these areas here and gotten stronger at. Okay. And it's interesting because you generally lack air placements, so um, you don't have any inner planets in air. You do have Pluto, Uranus, IC, South Node. It's interesting that you do have South Node in Gemini, which is a kind of strong placement. So this indicates that you've always been kind of good at understanding people and knowing kind of how people tick, knowing what's expected of you from people, knowing what people want, and so you've always been good at kind of fitting in, being like a chameleon or saying the right thing. Um, and you've always been good at, let me see here. Well, your south node is in the 11th house, so this even more indicates that you're very good socially, and I think you have, these kind of water and fire placements. Um, People connect with water and fire very easily because they are more emotional in nature. At least they display their emotions more so. Their emotions are easier to connect with. So having those fire and water planets, I would expect that people naturally connect with you anyway. You have definitely a lot of charisma, I would think. But especially having South Node in 11th house Gemini, you very much know how to fit in with people. You can be very clever or even manipulative if you so choose, just because it is so easy for you to blend in with people. But South Node represents kind of our comfort zone, so it's something that we're good at inherently. This is something you've always been good at, and some people say we inherit this from a past life. So in a past life, you may have been, I don't know, a very social person, someone who was always meeting with many different kinds of people. In this life, though, this is where you start out, and you're not meant to stay there. There's always gifts and abilities that come with our South Node placement. So you are really great with people, and that's something that you should always utilize. And I'm not saying to abandon that, but what I am saying is that um, if you stay in that area of always kind of like there can be themes of like people pleasing or not having your own sense of identity or purpose and kind of just going along with what other people are doing. So if you stay there, it will kind of destroy you in a way, and so you can keep your gifts and abilities from that area, but you also have to incorporate the themes of the North Node, which is exactly opposite, and it's in fifth house Sagittarius for you. So this means this is in a place which is much more fiery and self-expressive, and South Node in Gemini is um, more focused on like people pleasing in a way, going along with what other people are doing. North Node in Sagittarius is more rebellious. It's more about what do you actually believe in. It's more about inspiration and passion. And South Node in Gemini wants to know like all the facts about everything. So you might be really good at learning things, learning various factoids and information. North Node in Sagittarius means that that's great. You can be good at learning things. That's awesome. But Northland Sagittarius means, it's suggesting to focus more, not on just all the information, but be more selective. Choose what makes you inspired, what you're passionate about, and go forward in that direction. South Node in Gemini wants to learn a little bit about everything. North Node in Sagittarius wants to pick one thing and be the best at it. And this energy is a little bit similar to your Leo Sun and your Aries midheaven anyway, so I think this won't be super, alien or foreign for you to embrace. It's something that you already have part of your personality that's kind of geared this way. But, and this, I think you have likely made a lot of progress at this already, becoming less people pleasing and more focused on what you're passionate about and becoming the best in those areas. I'm sure you've already made progress in those areas, but perhaps this could be a reminder that that is the way you're meant to go. I think there's part of you that wants to get along with people and to be accepted. I mean, that's true in everyone. But especially with your South Node in 11th house Gemini, you want to have friends, you want to feel connected, you want that social group or community. But North Node in fifth house Sagittarius suggests that you really need to be independent, and ultimately that would be the only way to find a group that truly resonates with you is by delving more into your own self-expression and your um, I don't know what you personally believe to be true. Your own identity, your own, fire is kind of, these are all fiery themes. Leo, Aries, and then your North Node in Sagittarius. So the North Node in Sagittarius, it's suggesting that you go more into the themes of fire. And fire is the most self-oriented element. Um, it's so expressive and outgoing, but the reason why it's so confident is because it sees things as more black and white, and I don't know, things are a little bit simplified in the fire signs, which is why they are so confident and assured, So it's suggesting that that's the way you're meant to go, which is very different than South Node in 11th house Gemini, which is more kind of scattered and more just seeing things as varying shades of gray. It's a lot more nuanced in 11th house Gemini. It's a lot more simple in fifth house Sagittarius, so that's where you're meant to go. I don't think this will always be easy. Actually, I think it wouldn't be easy at all. North Node is generally not something easy. Again, it's a little bit like Saturn or 12th house, where it's something that we are initially, not so good at or not so familiar with, but we're meant to grow into that area. So, and the way once you do start going more into that area, then you will it will benefit you the most. You'll be, extra good at that, and it will really enrich your soul and help your evolution. Um, so again, that would be, finding what you're passionate about, and then being the best at that. Going one direction instead of being more scattered with your energy, scattered with your focus. Okay, let's talk. I haven't really talked about romantic stuff yet, and I haven't talked about your Mars and Virgo. First, let me just say Mars and Virgo, and it's in the first house as well. So you have this kind of Mars. This adds to your kind of fiery energy and your ambitious nature as well. But Mars and Virgo, it means that you naturally, when you want to do something, when you're ambitious about something, you naturally break it down into small tasks, which is very valuable and effective because, when you're going about something, you're just doing this little task and this little task and this other little task, but pretty soon all these small tasks add up to something very large and very impressive. So it's a really strong placement to have. Mars and Virgo can also make you a tiny bit neurotic. It could make you like it'd be very irritable for you to have your surroundings kind of cluttered or unorganized. So, that's a common thing where it would put you in a bad mood to be in a cluttered environment. So your surroundings are important to you, and um, Mars and Virgo, it indicates a hard worker. You know, um, Virgo is very methodical and it's very diligent. It's always kind of uh, working toward things. Working at all these little tasks. And Mars represents your fighting energy, your fire, your ambition. I don't know. These two energies combine to make you a strong worker. Basically, you'd always have this work ethic, and I think especially combining this with your Leo energy and combining it with Moon and Capricorn and Aries midheaven, um, I think you would always be kind of ambitious and you'd always be very like productive. You'd always be very active. Um, especially at your workplace of work, you'd always be, and you'd want to learn too. Mars and Virgo isn't just a hard worker physically, but it also wants to, it is good at learning, being ambitious with acquiring data, for instance. And this combines with your Southland and Gemini to make you a good learner. So you would be, very. I think your career would be very important to you. More so than other people. Uh, I just say that because of course, our career is important to all of us. But you in particular, your career is very important. It's not just your career; it's part of your identity. You put a lot of work into what you do. So I think that's part of why it's so important. Um, okay, but talking more about romantic stuff here. Okay. So Mars and Virgo, you have Venus. Venus is the more feminine side to romance and love, and then Mars is kind of the more masculine side. Mars is more sexual. But together they do form a lot of what we desire. Mars is kind of like our ambitions, for instance, but it's also what we are kind of sexually attracted to in a mate. What we sort of our, I don't know, sexual style. So for you combining both of these, Venus and Cancer with Mars and Virgo together suggests to me that you're more attracted to someone who is more modest, someone who's more maybe more introverted than yourself. You have a lot of fiery energy, but your Venus is in Cancer, which is water, and then Mars is in Virgo, and your descendant is in Aquarius, which is air. So you would definitely be the leader in your relationship. Yeah, you would probably take the initiative. You would initiate with the other person, and having let's just kind of jump around here. So having Leo ascendant with Aquarius descendant would suggest to me that you would want to be the leader in the relationship. You would want to be the more expressive one. You would be attracted to someone, and you would need someone who, for long-term compatibility, you would need someone who is very eccentric, very unique. You'd want someone intelligent, especially combining your descendant in Aquarius with Mars and Virgo. You want someone maybe a little bit intellectual, someone who has a lot of information, someone unique, someone who thinks for themselves, and descendant in Aquarius wants some. Well, okay, Aquarius is funny because it's very conservative yet rebellious or radical at the same time. So having your descendant there means that you want almost like a typical like old-fashioned love story, but you want it to be unique. So there's always some kind of twist to it. So you want like boy meets girl, for instance, but in a way that's uniquely your own. You want someone who is very like totally different from someone else, someone who's a little bit kind of a weirdo in some way, someone who's eccentric. That's what you would really need in a relationship, and you'd want someone strong-willed. But like I said before, when it really comes down to it, you're actually the leader. You want someone that you can kind of be expressive with and be spontaneous with, and a lot of times they might kind of follow your lead and they would enjoy that expression that you would bring, that fiery, initiative that you would bring to the table. That would be very engaging for that person and they would be happy to kind of go along with you for that ride, if you will. But yeah, I think, especially with Venus in Cancer and Mars in Virgo, they would be a little bit more sentimental or more grounded, maybe, than yourself, or more, I don't want to say more than yourself. You have some earth energy as well, so you'd be pragmatic as well. But you'd want someone a little bit more practical or probably more easygoing than yourself. You have a lot of fire energy, so you can get kind of worked up at times, like especially because you lack air, generally speaking. Um, so you can sometimes feel like everything is very serious. Like there's a lot of weight on your shoulders, like you do take things very seriously, and that's part of why you're so good at what you do, I think. You work very hard for things. But you put a lot of pressure on yourself too, and I think being with someone who's a little bit more airy in nature, so Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, that's what you would really be attracted to in a relationship. So you'd be attracted to someone who doesn't take things as seriously, someone who's a little bit more low key, more, um, like I said, introverted, more chill, I guess you could say, more mellow, and maybe a little bit more detached. Someone who, doesn't take things as seriously, or, that's what would really be attractive to you. And you would both benefit each other because they would kind of help you mellow out and, not take things so seriously at times, learn to kind of laugh at things or learn to detach at times a little bit. And then you would help them by bringing this fiery charisma and this initiative to, get things going, to, to bring that spark, to make things happen, basically. So that's kind of the connection I would see here. Um, let's see. And Venus and Cancer with Mars and Virgo are kind of more, conservative or like traditional placements. Um, so you would want, like, they're very monogamous, for instance. You don't just want to be with whoever. I think you'd be very selective and um, you'd want almost like an old fashioned, like, approach to relationships, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's kind of jump around here. So let's talk about your childhood more. So I already did that a bit with Moon and Capricorn, but you also have IC in Libra and South Node in Gemini. So both of those to me would suggest that you were very interested in people at a young age. You were very observant. Um, hmm, Observant, kind of detached. I think more so than now. So this kind of fiery energy that you have may have been actually more subdued at a young age. So you may have been more introverted early on, more kind of just focused on people watching, or um, I think you may have been very creative as a child, very imaginative. So, and you may have enjoyed um, like Libra, IC, and South Node and Gemini would indicate that you might have really liked to, draw or do something with your hands. I don't know, create something with your hands, and because like kind of like arts and crafts, or I don't know, something with your hands. And but you were more observant. You weren't as expressive as a child, so you weren't as It's funny though because you do. I think you would grow up very quickly and pretty soon start to develop that kind of fiery side to your nature. Like Leo does develop kind of quickly early on. But I think maybe early in your childhood you would be a lot more maybe kind of quiet and very internal, more so. Um, but definitely very intelligent, kind of always watching and learning, just observing things. Um, and the direction that that goes, you would go from your IC and Libra. So as a child, you'd be more like a Libra, so more easygoing, observant, going with the flow. But then as you mature, that would turn into your Aries midheaven on the opposite side. So, um, in public, a little later on, once you go to school and work, you would be a lot more outgoing, and a lot more confident and expressive and taking initiative, and being the leader in your workplace, pretty quickly, a little bit later in life though. Let's see here. I covered all the basics, but you have Uranus conjunct the IC. So this indicates that as a child, there may have been like dramatic shifts in your circumstances. So you may have moved very far multiple times in your childhood, or I don't know, there could have been some other kind of very dramatic shifts. So like things would be one way for a while, and then they would just suddenly totally change, and your whole world would be different. And then they'd be that way for a while, and then they just suddenly change all over again. And this would mostly apply to your childhood, but it would also apply to your home life a little bit later on. So you might continue this into your adulthood, I think in a less dramatic way, but that same, theme or that same pattern would kind of continue in a less extreme way into your adulthood. Those sudden changes on a very fundamental level to your home life. Um, and I'm just trying to think here. I mean, that's I guess you could kind of say that that's common with a lot of people, but I don't know if it is though. I'm talking about really extreme change though. Like, I don't know, just picking up and moving across the country or something, for instance, would be one way of it, or I don't know, changing who you live with in a kind of dramatic way, something like that. Or going from living with a lot of people to living on your own, like a really dramatic change like that is something that would happen multiple times as a child and then a little bit less frequently, but still as an adult. Okay, and lastly, I think I'll just end this. Well, there's a couple things I could say. I mean, you have Pluto and Libra, so the Pluto and Libra generation is known to be sort of the first generation where a lot of divorces became common with their parents, um, and so there is this whole dynamic of relationships that's very challenging for the Pluto and Libra generation, the people born in the late 70s, early 80s. Um, so that is kind of a theme that you are always working with, wanting to connect with someone in a partnership, and having, feeling the weight there, feeling the challenges there. But there's also a lot of potential. This is kind of vague. It really just applies to your whole generation, like I said. But getting a little bit more specifically here, and then I think I'll probably end this video with this. But you have Jupiter retrograde in 8th house Pisces. This is pretty beautiful because Jupiter is in domicile in Pisces. Jupiter rules Pisces, and so you have this kind of natural abundance and expansion, this potential for expansion and abundance in the Pisces realms, and it's in the 8th house as well. So this is a very like psychic or intuitive place. It would indicate that you're naturally kind of gifted with being intuitive, being um, and also allowing yourself to relax. So kind of meditating or having vivid dreams, being in these slow states of mind where you can gain that knowledge or that wisdom or intuition. You would be naturally kind of gifted and blessed with all of this. Um, let's see here. 8th house can also rule though, like inheritance or debts, and having Jupiter there would expand it. So there is a potential for accruing a lot of debt. But Jupiter in eighth house, it can expand things, which can be difficult, like in this circumstance. But it can also be good. It can bring fortune and abundance. So you can also inherit large amounts of wealth as well throughout your life. It just kind of depends on what transiting planets are aspecting your natal Jupiter in Pisces placement. So there is that potential there that you could gain massive debt, but also gain massive inheritance, or vice versa. This could also have to do with like taxes or, I don't know, some kind of money that's involving other people, where you're owing other people a lot of money, or other people are owing you a lot of money, type of thing. So there's that potential as well. That's something to kind of look out for. Okay, that's that's most of what I see in your chart. Just kind of generally, you know, doing a general deep dive here. So, um, and I've touched on some of the themes that I'll cover more about in the year forecast. So, um, but yeah, hopefully that resonates. Let me know what you think, and let me know if there's anything you'd like more information about. But that's generally what I see with your chart. Definitely very interesting. Um, so yeah, and I look forward to doing the year forecast, which I will do probably tomorrow morning. I'll have uploaded for you. So thanks for watching and thanks for this request. If anyone would like a birth chart reading or a different type of reading, just email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.